Hey guys, ultra racist YouTuber Gamma here, coming back at you with another Mudahar video. But before we get into anything that we have to discuss today, I think it's important for me to address the thumbnail allegations. As a social engineer, when I was making that thumbnail, as I've made in the past before, I was carefully crafting it meticulously to make the most racist impact. I'm kidding. It's a joke. It's a joke. I'm not a social engineer.
But I'm an engineer. I know how this stuff is going, so I'm not even speaking out of pocket right here.
So since my last Mudahar video, there are a couple of updates that I want to talk about, but first, I do want to say that there has been a couple of morons on the internet that have quickly ran with my thumbnail, like this Kaguya's top gal moron who said that Mudahar lied about being a computer engineer to get a visa. First of all, that's not anything that I've ever mentioned in my video. That's not true at all, and I quickly just want to dispel that misinformation, because what Mudahar actually did is lie about his credentials, his experience, his titles for over 10 years, to try to make himself a figure of authority, which is actually a pretty big deal. A lot of people are calling this story a nothing burger, and to be fair, I get it. I understand why most people wouldn't really care about this entire situation, because it largely seems like a nothing burger, but in reality, it isn't. The biggest deal here is that Mutahar, because of this credibility that he feigned for over 10 years, has been looked up to as a large figure to break stories, to break information, and to cover information from an experienced perspective. People saw him as infallible, as somebody with a bunch of expertise and know-how in many avenues in regards to tech, in regards to information, in regards to research.
Last thing. We'll go back to the Anthony thing if he sends the stuff. But you're actually very educated on how the the caching works for the Mega account. So I was wondering if you can kind of explain that to chat, because we talked about it. You were much smarter than me in this.
This is where I have a real issue with Max right now. This is where this is actually what the gasoline on the bridge is for.
People like Nicholas Diorio staked their trust on Mudahar because he seemed educated, because he always propped himself up as an expert on these topics. And when no one questions you on your posturing, sometimes it's really easy to just believe somebody at face value when they could just be misleading you. And what if Mudahar did mislead you because he never expected to be questioned, because he never expected to be confronted on anything that he was saying? Which is why recently, after all of this information was carefully compiled and broke to a large audience, people have started going back on some of the investigations and some of the claims that Mudahar has made in the past. And recently, a YouTuber known as Dickers TV went through some of the claims that Mudahar made in regards to Mamax on livestream to see just how much of his claims he leveraged his credibility on.
You read up on how YouTube CSAI match works or Microsoft's Photo DNA. Both incredibly well tools, both incredibly free to use, and both designed to assist law enforcement and websites to stop illegal material from ever being posted in the first place. They all check hashes, okay? Literally fingerprints within picture files.
Why do we think that this is a hash code that's tripped this? Why is there any belief that this is a hash code? Because in Mega's transparency report, they say that this is what they do if they receive any reports from users, the public, or authorities. And then if you look at the account, the error file, the error message, it says that it was reported. But Mutahar is a cybersecurity engineer. Don't forget, he's a cybersecurity engineer, guys. Okay, he's totally credible. Totally credible. He's not lying about this. He's got the experience to back it up, okay? He knows what he's talking about. And so everybody believes that this is all hash codes. And Mamax was actually storing CSAM.
So for those of you who don't remember, during the Mamax drama, one of the biggest points of contention, and one of the biggest things that Mamax got criticized on, is the fact that he was potentially hosting illegal material on a Mega Drive. But what if that actually wasn't the case? What if that was sort of a misrepresentation that Mudahar didn't double check his information on? What if he just said that without actually making sure to verify what was in those files? What if somebody did just take down his information off a no-tolerance report? Now, of course, I'm not saying that to defend Mamax by any means, because the guy was obviously a fraud, and he is significantly worse than Mudahar by a long shot, but these are the type of things that you kind of need to be careful about to make sure that they weren't misrepresented.
But we can tell already from the same report that Mutahar is pointing to that no, this system is not very selective. They will take them down based on any reports of such content, result in immediate deactivation of the folder/file links and closure of the user's account. So no, it's not very selective. They will do it on a zero tolerance policy.
Now, I'm not saying that what Mamax was doing wasn't wrong. It absolutely was wrong. I'm just saying that for all we know, there was probably no illegal content in these files whatsoever, but a lot of people jumped to that expectation. A lot of people jumped to that belief. Maybe in this case, even though Mamax is a terrible person, perhaps he deserved a chance to explain himself before he was labeled as somebody that was harboring illegal material.
So why is this relevant at all?
Stated, which I have mentioned is most likely because of a possible false positive. Look, Max's explanation really hurts me a lot because for it to make sense, he would actually have to have some of these illegal predators, if they have illegal images from them stored. What I'm getting at is Max's explanation here still rubs me the wrong way. Look, if you have, somebody's nude photo or whatever, it's not by itself going to trip any hash. The only reason a hash gets tripped...
No. Again, this guy is obsessed with hash codes. This is 100%, I'm saying it now, Dunning-Kruger. He actually has very little knowledge of this space. He has very little knowledge of what's going on. He knows about hash codes, and so he assumes it's all hash codes. There's no reason to believe this was done based on a hash code. This is just his assumption, because this is how other websites operate. But he hasn't even read the entire transparency report.
So there is a possibility that as foul as Mamax is, he may have been misrepresented. Now, a lot of people don't care, but I am of the firm belief that regardless of how bad somebody is, or how detestable somebody is, or how much you dislike somebody, everybody deserves a fair shake and a fair judgment. Now, it goes without saying, when somebody lies about their reputation, about their credibility, and everything that they've accomplished, a lot of the stuff that they've been a part of in the past, such as these sort of investigations, can get invalidated and do leave a window of opportunity for people to immediately discredit any good criticism that they may have been given by people like Mudahar. So in this case, what if Mamax uses this as an opportunity to try to crawl his way back and claim that he was slandered? It's just a hypothetical, but if you still don't care, and if you still believe that this is a nothing burger because you like and respect Mudahar, then I want to show you this clip because even Mudahar would agree with the criticism that I'm giving right now.
Tons of grifty accounts online fell for this one fucking person lying about their, credentials as a Japanese university historian expert.
Yeah, buddy, tons of people online fell for the credentials of a Japanese historian expert. People grift online, yeah?
Even though it took 5 seconds to Wayback Machine their account and figure out, oh, they were just some random white guy from, some part in Indiana, okay? Some random dude on the internet.
Well, in your case, it took several years, several months to compile every single time that you've postured about being an engineer, but, I mean, here we are.
And even if you took their Japanese, name, put it into the Tokyo University or whatever university they claim to be, you couldn't even find that person. See, people don't even want to do the bare minimum of research. Nobody wants to do even 5 minutes of research. But they'll believe anything an account says. Now imagine with generative AI, taking the extra steps to, bulletproof this account and make it look even more legitimate. You could actually go beyond just goofing on Assassin's Creed Shadows and turn it into serious misinformation. Imagine an actual piece of misinformation suddenly showing up on national news, international news, spreading like wildfire. And it was not until the actual bomb blows that people start correcting themselves. That's a serious issue, and that's something that I think people need to watch out for going forward.
So, there you have it. I am simply applying Mudahar standards onto him because this is what he preaches. These are his principles, and this is what he's all about. I'm not taking a shot at the guy because I dislike him. I've actually been quite a fan of Mudahar for a long time. I found this guy in elementary school. I found this guy when he was still covering Jeff the Killer creepypastas and playing Slenderman games, okay? I do not dislike Mudahar, which is why this makes it all the more disappointing. For the longest time, I considered Mudahar to be an inspiration. I wanted to make content the same way he made content, talking about anything that I wanted to, make views off of any single topic that interested me, while covering the information thoroughly. However, Mudahar has essentially made that a slap on the face. Keep in mind, this is the guy that was moral grandstanding to Boogie about his cancer and about lying about everything that he's been going through for the last year. This is the guy who urged him to come forward and be honest. But what does he do when it's his turn to come forward and be honest, to face the confrontation head on stream, live?
Hey, we're on stream, just so you know. I basically want to know, what is this drama about you lied about being an engineer and stuff?
So you can't just call me like off stream. I don't understand if you know something.
Here. I could call you off stream, but I just thought maybe like if it's.
Hold on. I gotta take care of this, so I don't know I was on stream.
So you want me to call you off stream?
Yeah, later. I'm just in the middle of something.
All right, sounds good.
All right, well.
He runs. He runs like a coward. He doesn't even take it head on. And to be clear, to be fair, I'll grant the charitability. I'll grant the good faith that maybe, perhaps he actually was busy at the time. And maybe he had to do something. He was in the middle of something and couldn't actually engage with the conversation in the moment. Maybe he was just too occupied. I'll grant him that charitability. But if he really utilized that as an excuse to not face criticism head on, then all I have to say is his actions speak for himself, okay? Not only has this guy been posturing about his credentials for the last 10 years, but he's also been posturing about his principles, because when push comes to shove, when you're faced with your own principles head on, you don't even engage with them. It's pathetic. It's sad. This is just the tip of the iceberg, by the way. There are a couple of things that Mudahar is currently facing scrutiny for and criticism for that I'm not too prepared to engage with, because I'm not very knowledgeable on what exactly it is that he's gotten wrong or done wrong in regards to some of the other things he's been involved with. But when I do more research, when I understand it thoroughly and properly, you can bet your ass I will be here covering it, because this has been a huge letdown for a lot of us. And I think the scrutiny and the criticism is more than appropriate for somebody who has basically made it a principled position for research to be done thoroughly, appropriately, and for somebody not to lie about their credentials, for somebody who called out Mamax for lying about just how capable they actually were. That's all I got for today. Thanks for tuning in. Later.